A yellow Buick sits 14 inches from nothing, 14 inches from a 150-foot drop into Tampa Bay. The driver doesn't move, can't move. Behind him, the road he was just driving on has vanished into the water. 35 people didn't stop in time. One man did something stranger. He fell all the way down, truck, driver, everything, and came back up alive. This is how a Gulfport mechanic named Wesley MacIntire survived a bridge collapse that a Navy freighter caused, and how that same freighter ended up saving his life. Tampa Bay, Florida. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge, a cantilever span built in 1954, stretching over 4 miles across open water, 200 feet up at its peak. Underneath, a narrow shipping channel threads between the support piers. Ships have to hit that gap almost perfectly. There's no margin built in. May 9th, 1980. Friday morning rush hour. The freighter Summit Venture, 609 feet long, 20,000 tons, empty and riding high in the water, is inbound through that channel toward Tampa. At the helm, harbor pilot John Laro. He's guided ships through this channel for years. Today, the weather has other plans. A squall rolls in off the Gulf. Not a hurricane, just a fast, blinding tropical storm cell. Rain so hard it swallows the horizon, wind gusts strong enough to shove a loaded ship sideways. And then the ship's radar goes out. Laro is running blind, 7/10 of a mile from the bridge, at exactly the point where he needs to turn. This channel had already been testing that margin for years. In January 1972, again in 1973, again in 1977, and again just 3 months before this morning, ships had struck the protective fenders around these same piers. Each time, crews patched the fenders and moved on. No structural upgrade, no redesign. A 609-foot ship has almost no room to correct once it starts drifting in a crosswind that strong, that close to a channel that narrow. Pilots had made this turn 1,000 times in clear weather. Nobody had built in what happens when the visibility disappears. At the one moment, there's zero room for error. Laro makes the call anyway. He steers toward where the channel should be. He misses. 7:33 a.m. The Summit Venture's bow slams into Pier 2S, one of the main support columns holding up the southbound span. Steel and concrete don't bend for a ship. The pier shears, and with it, roughly 1,200 feet of roadbed, a quarter-mile of highway, drops straight down into Tampa Bay. It happens in seconds. No warning lights, no barricade, just morning traffic, driving at highway speed toward a road that is no longer there. A Greyhound bus goes first, straight off the broken edge. Then a truck. Then car after car, drivers with maybe half a second to see the gap before physics takes over. Some don't see it at all. The rain is too hard, the light too gray. One car does stop. Richard Hornbuckle is driving his yellow Buick toward that same gap, and somewhere in the space of a heartbeat, he sees what's missing up ahead. He hits the brakes. The car slides on wet pavement, fighting its own momentum the whole way, and comes to rest 14 inches from the drop. Not a foot, not a yard. 14 inches, the width of a dinner plate, between him and the same 150-foot fall that's already swallowed the cars ahead of him. He survives on a margin smaller than his own steering wheel. 35 people don't get that margin. They go over the edge and drop 150 feet into the bay, still inside their vehicles. Wesley MacIntire is a Gulfport truck driver and mechanic on his way to a meat delivery job. Ford Courier pickup, 1974 model. He's just thrown 2 quarters into the toll booth basket. He's already past the peak of the bridge, already heading down the southbound slope, which means, unlike the drivers still climbing behind him, he's committed. There's no stopping on a wet downhill grade at highway speed. He feels the roadway start to bob under his tires. He thinks it's the wind. It isn't. The bridge is already coming apart beneath him. MacIntire goes over the broken edge, with his truck still moving forward. He falls roughly 150 feet, but he doesn't hit water first. He lands on the deck of the Summit Venture itself, the same ship that just tore the bridge apart. The impact doesn't kill him. The truck bounces, tips, and rolls off the deck into the bay, sinking with him still trapped inside the cab. Now MacIntire is in a sinking truck at the bottom of Tampa Bay, in the dark. He was a Navy swimmer in World War II. That training is the only thing standing between him and drowning right now. He doesn't panic and thrash. He waits for the truck to settle on the bottom, waits for the pressure to equalize enough to force the door, then kicks free and swims up through black water toward a surface he can't see. He breaks through. He's alive, floating in the storm, next to the very ship that caused all of this. Crew members from the Summit Venture pull him out of the water. He is the only survivor in the water that morning. 35 dead, all of them in vehicles that went over the broken edge, a bus, a truck, several cars, 1/4 mile of roadbed gone. One survivor pulled from the bay, Wesley MacIntire. An investigation later clears Lero of negligence, ruling he acted reasonably given the sudden loss of radar and visibility in a squall no forecast had predicted. The verdict doesn't undo what people already believe. For the rest of his life, John Lero is known, first and always, as the man who brought down the Skyway. He keeps working as a harbor pilot in the same bay, guiding ships past the very piers his ship once destroyed. He dies in 2002, at 59, from multiple sclerosis, cleared by the law, never quite cleared by the public. MacIntire doesn't walk away clean either. Survivor's guilt follows him home. Nightmares. An inability to drive over bridges again. 2 months later, in a strange footnote to the whole story, he appears on the game show To Tell the Truth. The ordinary man who fell off a bridge and lived turned briefly into a spectacle before going back to being a mechanic in Gulfport. The old Skyway is torn down. In its place, a new cable-stayed bridge, completed in 1987 for $244 million. A design inspired, of all things, by a bridge over the River Bretonne in France that Florida's governor had once admired on a trip overseas. It's built with something the old bridge never had: physical barriers, dolphins in the water around every pier, structures meant to absorb a ship's impact before it ever reaches the road. Nobody built those barriers because they predicted this exact storm. They built them because a blind ship, a narrow channel, and a 1/4 mile of unprotected roadbed had already sent warning after warning for a decade. And nobody upgraded the structure until it was too late to matter.